I have to wonder what the new Navy says today. Because back in the day, back in the day, when I was making E2 twice, they used to pass the word over the 1MC. That was the ship's general announcement system. Come on, man, you know the thing. You've heard it in the old war movies. Now hear this. Yeah, general announcement system. No man working aloft while radars are radiating and rotating. There you go, people. Pulse modulated microwaves. We've talked about them before. Now here's the question. Can the fear of radiation actually end up saving your ass? If you know what your enemy doesn't, that could be helpful, and I'll explain it to you. A little background first. So your surface and your air radars rotate in a full 360 degrees. For my low temp room temperature plus 7 IQ friends at the bottom Peter Plitt, that means they rotate in a complete circle continuously, a sweep if you will. Now when either the surface picture or a picture picks up an incoming hostile target, they transfer that information over to the big 55 Bravo radar fire control people, and they go to that particular range and bearing and they search with laser beam precision accuracies for the incoming targets. They lock on, a Terrier missile is fired up the electronic channel, riding the wave, gets in a close proximity, doesn't even have to hit the son of a bitch, and detonates in the proximity. Flying shrapnel and all kinds of hell flies out in 360 degrees and takes out the threat. Now, why am I telling you that? Because normally, no men working aloft while radars are radiating and rotating meant that usually the fire control people were testing their 55 Bravo radars, and those were the ones that could cook your ass toot sweet without hesitation. So you had to be warned when those people were testing them things. Your FTMs, your FTM, fire control missile techs. Okay, now here's the point. What do they say in today's Navy? No men? They can't say that, can they? That'd be discriminatory. No, fill in the blank, sailors working aloft while radars are radiating and rotating. Oh, God, things have really changed, and not for the good. So the original question, can the fear of radiation save your ass? Well, I happen to have inside information that yes, it can. The Chief Master at Arms group, those are the Navy cops, enlisted Navy cops that are on board your command. They're always trying to bust sailors, and I hate to admit this, people, but even back in the day, there was some low-life elements that would smuggle marijuana on board a U.S. naval combat vessel and actually try to smoke the shit without getting caught. A little hard to do because there's not that many places you can hide on a Navy ship. And the smell kind of always gives it away, if you know what I'm saying. Now, I don't have first-hand experience here, but this is what I've been told, and they were reliable sources. Now, the vast majority of the marijuana pot-smoking crew, and it wasn't probably that big of a number, would either go to the front of the ship, the forecastle area, or to the back of the ship, the aft section, under the cover of darkness, and try to smoke their little bit of pot. Well, they got busted and had to go to captain's mess all the time. However, and this is kind of cool, the radar men, yep, that's when I was, I knew a guy that told me about a guy. They would climb up onto the surface search radar platform, yes, while it was rotating and radiating, because it was low power, harmless to humans, smoke their pot up there, and because of the fear of the radiation scare scam, they never get busted. How cool is that? Let's talk about the fog of war. It is Friday the 6th of May 2022. The fog of war, people, does it affect your ever flexible, most fluid and humble messenger up on the wall? I say no, it doesn't. Now, some people don't like him, but the Apostle Paul, the same guy who said, and keep this in mind, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spirits in high positions and high power, also said, we see through a glass darkly. Now figure that out. If you see through clear glass, you get a clear image of what's going on the other side of the glass, or the window, let's say. But if it's darkened, if it's colored, you get my point? You see where I'm going with this? You can kind of make out some images moving around out there, but can you make them out clearly with clear identification? Not so much. So there you go. Now, do I suffer from seeing through a glass darkly? Hell no. Do I suffer through the fog of war? The fog of war simply is things change. You don't get the whole picture. It's the fog of war. You're seeing through the glass darkly. Not me, people. Crystal clear. And what I'm seeing is insanity on steroids. Truly, as Dane Winnington says from geoengineeringwatch.org, we are living in an asylum, and the fucking kooks are running it. Let's start out here with a good find from Brian over at High Impact Flicks. A city council opening in Alaska. Now the name isn't given to the town, but I'm looking at the picture here. I'm going to watch this video. You're going to listen to it. Looks like a pretty big city council, and they're all standing. Just check this out if you think I'm making this shit up, because I'm not.
Anna, from the Satanic Temple, you may either remain standing or be seated. No one's required to participate. Please come forward.
Keep in mind, people, the city council, nobody left the room. The council members, they're all remaining standing, just like we're going to have a prayer from a priest. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Let us stand now, unbowed and unfettered by arcane doctrines born of fearful minds in darkened times. Let us embrace the Luciferian impulse to eat of the tree of knowledge and dissipate our blissful and comforting delusions of old. Let us demand that individuals be judged for their concrete actions, not their fealty to arbitrary social norms and illusory categorizations. Let us reason our solutions with agnosticism in all things, holding fast only to that which is demonstrably true. Let us stand firm against any and all arbitrary authority that threatens the personal sovereignty of all or one. That which will not bend must break, and that which can be destroyed by truth should never be spared its demise. It is done. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Well, son of a bitch. I mean, my things have changed, haven't they, over the few years? Yeah, that's how you open city council meetings, I guess. Team Evil. Alive and well, people. Okay, now we're going to shoot over here to Tucker Carlson. Exclusively because Tucker does have a good way of giving you kind of a list of what's going on currently. And I'll give you a little comment after he's done.
So you can question whether Joe Biden actually got, what's the number, 81 million votes in the last presidential election, and actually later in the show we will. But even if you accept that there actually were people who voted for Joe Biden voluntarily, it's hard to believe that many of them got anything like what they expected in return for their votes. Joe Biden, not to be dark about it, just to be honest, Joe Biden has turned out to be an unparalleled disaster. It's not an overstatement. In fact, it's a generous assessment. Our country has never seen anything like what Joe Biden has done. Barely 15 months into his first term as president, Joe Biden has crashed the stock market, provoked a food shortage, opened our borders to millions of illegal aliens, presided over historic rises in murder, inflation, and drug ODs, as well as a corresponding plunge in overall life expectancy. And then, because all of that wasn't punitive enough for a country as racist as ours, he dragged the United States into an entirely pointless war with a nuclear-armed power on behalf of a corrupt foreign government that once bribed his drug-addicted son.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good summation of where we are today, don't you think, people? I got to rub with Tucker Carlson there. Joe Biden had nothing to do with it. The Democrats had nothing to do with it. The Republicans aren't going to stop it. There's nothing new under the sun, people. Team Evil and Team Good have been warring for over 2,000 years. Tucker ends this little broadcast, this snippet of a broadcast, with, "Pray that the midterm elections aren't rigged." Well, now why is that, Tucker? Because the rhinos are going to get in power and things are going to be better? People, keep in mind, when President Trump took office in 2017, the Republicans had control of both the House and the Senate. And what happened? Or what, better yet, what didn't happen? They didn't lock her up. They couldn't appropriate the $8 billion to build a wall to keep them out. In fact, Trump says he loves immigration. He wants massive amounts of immigration. But they have to do it legally. Yeah, so here come your replacements. But hey, here's the good news. They're legal. I'm not going to waste my time beating on Trump because that pisses too many of you people off. Well, you don't like Trump, Dave, so you wanted Hillary, you want Biden. No, that's the only options I get, really, because I don't like one. That means I have to assume you assume I like the other. Ridiculous. Name me one time in history, people, when the slaves ever, and I mean ever, voted themselves off the master's plantation. Just one time. I'm sure some of you educated wizards out there can come up with that date, an event. Well, I'm going to sit on the edge of my chair waiting for you to tell me about it. So there you go, Tucker. I got some problems with what you say. You're blaming the wrong thing. Voting accomplishes nothing. It simply changes the name of our masters, and that's it. Our masters' puppets. All right. Hey, but by the way, I will give Trump credit for one thing. Israel sure made out like a bastard during his administration. But they still do. They always do. Imagine that. All right, now, I bitch about the weather all the time. Hey, how would you like to be living in Nebraska? Or Southern California? Nebraska slammed with up to 15 inches of May snow on the western part of the state. And heavy rains on the eastern part. Nebraska. It's part of the breadbasket, is it not? And a little bit of good news. I saw little anhydrous ammonia moving around yesterday in Willow City. Not very much. Pretty scarce. Not like the old days when people would be sitting in line down there at the anhydrous tanks trying to get rentals on those things or whatever they do, build their own private tanks. I don't know. But a little bit of movement, that's a good sign. They might be getting in their fields. They're all psyched up about it anyway. Okay, so Southern California, serious drought condition. Worst start ever after the winter melt. Yeah, California. They grow a lot of the vegetables we eat, people. That's food. No conspiracy. Nothing to see here, people. Move along. All right, now, I don't want to run too late here. Roe versus Wade. Boy, that's back in the news. What in the hell, and why now? Well, you know, Dave, it's to upset the radical Democrats so the Republicans don't take the office in the midterms. Really. They have an agenda. I just haven't quite figured it out yet. But I smell a rotten fish in Denmark. I really do, people. There's something up with this. I'll tell you what, because I don't suffer under the fog of war. You know, it's not bad enough that we have to have a hot war with Russia. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get to that. But do they want a civil war? I mean, a war with Russia, a war with China, a war with Korea, a war with Iran, and now a war amongst people in their own country, a war between the states 2.0. Just telling you, I think it's all part of the population agenda, and I think I've mentioned this before, 42 years ago. In a little red Federal Reserve publication called Keeping Our Money Healthy, it says, quote, if there were fewer people bidding against each other, money, their bank credit, would better keep its value. Fewer people, that's us. Yeah, it's only good business. How many times are they going to remind you to cull the herd of the non-productive? Whether they be non-laying chickens, whether they be open cows, or old people that lay around the plantation consuming more than they produce. Young ones too. Okay. Now, a hot war with Russia. What does that constitute? How do you know you're in a hot war with Russia? We have U.S. intelligence agencies bragging in the New York Times, oh yeah, people, the paper of record, that their intelligence is being given to the Ukrainians who are killing Russian top command line officers and generals. They're bragging of the sinking of Russian ship, in the Black Sea, and shooting down a transport plane full of Russian soldiers. That could piss somebody off. I say that's kind of a hot war. Wouldn't you say it's kind of a hot war? Amazing. So, that's about where we're going to go with that today. Never worry about me succumbing to the fog of war. Yes, I respect the Apostle Paul's admonition that we see through a glass darkly, but I got spiritual vision, people. I see what's coming. I'm going to tell you, it ain't looking good. And I'm going to tell you, I got stuff to do, I'm going to tell you that. But guess what? 2 of my good subs, I'll never mention any names. One of them happens to be a respectable business owner in Bono. I'd say food and beverage. I'd say the business located somewhere near Highway 5. No more information than that. 4:30 yesterday afternoon, they caught me working. See, not only do I roll out when you roll over, I'm still working. You guys are moving to the bar to have a tall, cool, crisp one. Okay, yeah, I do have stuff to do.